Hello friends, welcome back to our channel Adami Education. Like promised earlier, today we are going to do the questions from 2025 physics question paper class 10 ICSE board. So let's begin. Today we are going to do the MCQ type questions, and in the later weeks we are going to do the long answer type questions. So the first question is that a body is acted upon by two equal and opposite forces that are not along the same line. So as you can see, the word not has been given in capital letters, so make sure whenever you are reading the question you are reading it carefully, or else you are going to make a mistake. So two forces which are equal to one another but opposite in direction, it is acting on a body and it is not along the same straight line. So we can consider that there is an object like this. Let's consider there is an object like this and two forces are acting on it, one in this direction and one in the opposite direction, because they have been said it has been said that they are not along the same line. So if such a case is there, we can understand from the diagram itself that the body will experience rotational motion only. Now coming to the second question, which among the following is a vector quantity? So in such a question we are going to remove the options which are not correct. First of all, work is force into displacement, and we know work is a scalar quantity. You have studied about this in the book itself, it has been mentioned clearly. So power is work by time, so again it is a scalar quantity. Energy and work are almost the exact same thing, so again it is a scalar quantity. So the only option left is moment of couple, and in case you don't know, the moment of couple will act perpendicular along the plane in which the two forces are producing a couple. Okay, that means like this is a couple itself, the diagram at the bottom. So the perpendicular which will be drawn on this surface, that is on the screen, whatever perpendicular will be drawn, that will be the direction of the moment of couple. And we know for a quantity to be a vector quantity, it needs a particular direction. So the correct answer will be option number D. Now the next question, what is the correct energy transformation during burning of a candle? This is from chapter number 2. Let's see. First option is heat energy to kinetic plus potential energy. The next is heat to chemical plus light energy, chemical to heat and light energy, and mechanical to chemical and heat energy. So the first option is wrong because there is no kinetic energy produced. The last option is also wrong because there is no mechanical energy involved, isn't it? Now coming to the second option, heat is getting changed into chemical and light energy. We are lighting the candle first and then it is producing heat energy, so this is also not correct. So the correct option is C, chemical energy, that is the chemical energy of the wax in the candle, that is converting into heat energy and also into light energy. Next, coming to the fourth question, when a ray of light passes from one optical medium to another, which of the following physical quantities does not change? Like you know, whenever a ray of light is moving from one medium to another medium, many quantities are changing, but only one quantity remains invariant, that is it does not change, because it is the characteristic property of the material itself. Since the material is not changing, since the ray is not changing, as a result that particular quantity will also not change. It is the frequency of the wave. Now coming to amplitude may vary depending upon the medium. The wavelength will definitely vary because the speed is changing, so the wavelength will also change, but frequency will not change. So the answer is frequency of the wave. Next, the fifth question is, which of the following combination is the correct ascending order of electromagnetic waves in terms of wavelength? So ascending order, like you know, it is the smallest wavelength to the larger wavelength. So if I talk about the series of the electromagnetic waves, the first is gamma rays, which has the smallest wavelength, and then we have X-rays, UV rays, visible light, infrared radiation, microwaves, and then we have radio waves. So gamma rays will have the smallest wavelength. So the option A and C can be the correct answer because I can see gamma rays at the beginning. Now in option number C you have microwaves. Microwave has a very large wavelength as compared to visible light. So option number C is not correct. The correct answer is option number A, gamma rays, visible rays, and then microwaves. Now moving on to the sixth question. For a lever, a graph is plotted with load on the y-axis. So on the y-axis we have load and on the x-axis we have effort. Which of the following represents the slope of the graph? Now in order to understand this, let's make a line like this, a straight line, and in order to find out the slope, like we did in the previous video itself regarding motion, slope is the height of the triangle divided by the base. So the height is the load and the base is the effort. So load by effort will give you the mechanical advantage. So the correct answer is mechanical advantage. So don't just give any sort of assumptions in such type of questions. It is a very simple question and it can easily give you 1 marks. Don't make any mistakes in such questions. Now coming to the next question, number 7. It is from the chapter optics. For a real image formed by a convex lens, the ratio of the image to the object is 2:5. Okay, the size of the image is 2 and the size of the object is 5. That means the image is smaller than the object. Also, it is a real image which has been formed by the convex lens. Now your question is, where is the object placed? Since the object is larger than the image, okay, that means the image formed is a diminished image. So let's check out the options. Between O and F, O is the optical center and F is the focus. So if the object is between the optical center and the focus, we are going to get a virtual image. If you remember, this is the case of a magnifying glass. So the first option is incorrect. Beyond 2F. So if you remember the ray diagram from that chapter, when the object is placed beyond 2F, you are going to see that the image formed is a diminished image. Next, so this is the correct answer. We know it already, like we have understood. Next was at F. So if you remember, when the object is at F, the image is formed at infinity. So that's not the correct answer. And the next option is between F and 2F. So if the object is between F and 2F, the image is formed beyond 2F on the other side, and the image will be a magnified image like you can see on the screen. So the correct answer will be option B. Sometimes when you are not able to understand which option is correct, make sure you are just eliminating the wrong options. You will very easily find out the answer. Moving to the next question now. A ray of light is incident normally on a face of an equilateral prism. The ray gets totally reflected at the second refracting surface. The total deviation produced in the path of the ray is. So let's make the diagram for that question. So we have a prism which was an equilateral prism like it was mentioned. So all the angles are 60 degree. I am not mentioning it here, otherwise it will be a little clumsy. A ray of light was incident normally on it. Normally means at an angle of 90 degree. Now you know, whenever a ray is at an angle of 90 degree, it will pass undeviated and it is going to the other surface. Okay, it is passing undeviated without showing any sort of deviation and it is going to the other surface. Now on this particular surface, we need to find out the angle of incidence, and already they have said that total internal reflection is occurring. So we know that the ray is not passing outside, it will remain inside the prism itself. But still, just for our clarity, we are going to make a normal and we are going to find out the angle of incidence. So this is 60 degree, this is 90 degree. So automatically this angle will be 30 degree according to the angle sum property of a triangle. And since we know normal to the surface is always at an angle of 90 degree, that means this angle is 60 degree. We know for the glass air interface, the critical angle is 42 degree. Since the angle of incidence is 60 degree, that is greater than the critical angle, it will show total internal reflection. That means instead of going outside, it is moving in this manner. Okay, and over here, through calculation, you can find the angle of incidence on the base surface, on the bottom surface is 90 degree. So it will just pass undeviated. So this is the entire situation. Our question is, what is the total deviation? So if you observe, the ray was moving, the purple color line, the ray was moving in this direction, and if there was no deviation, it would have passed in this manner. So how much is it deviating from its original path? Instead of moving in the straight manner, it has gotten deviated like you can see in the diagram. So how much has it gotten deviated? Let's find out the angles. So since this is 30 degree, this will also be 30 degree, vertically opposite angles. Okay, also what will be the value of this angle? Let me just mention it using yellow color. This angle, what will be the value of this angle? Since this is 60 degree, this should also be 60 degree because this is the angle of reflection, and thus the yellow angle will be 30 degree. So how much is the ray deviating? 30 plus 30, that is 60 degree. So the total deviation produced will be 60 degree. Hope you have understood. Next question. In a closed circuit containing a bulb and a cell, the electromotive force, that is the EMF, is given as epsilon, and the terminal voltage capital V is related as. So this is a very direct question from the book itself. We know the EMF is equal to the terminal voltage plus the product of current and the internal resistance. This is also a part of a derivation. So our question is, which of the following relationships is correct? Now like I can see option number B is correct, because if I take IR to the other side, we are going to get V is equal to epsilon minus IR. So this is the correct option. So option number B is my correct answer. Now moving to the 10th question, let's see. A metal piece of mass 5 gram, so the mass has been given as 5 gram, has a thermal capacity is the heat capacity, capital C. It has been given as 2.5 joule per Kelvin. If the mass of the metal is tripled, then its specific heat capacity will be. No, this is from the chapter calorimetry, so we need to find out the specific heat capacity. So now let's see one thing. It has been said that the mass of the metal is tripled, but as you know, the specific heat capacity is fixed for a given metal, whatever the mass is. That means the specific heat capacity will not depend upon how much mass is changing, because for iron the specific heat capacity will be same even if it is a huge ball of iron or even if it is a small piece of iron. So what will be my specific heat capacity? If you remember the relationship, specific heat capacity is equal to heat capacity divided by mass. This is a very direct question from the relationship. So 2.5 divided by 5, the answer is 0.5 joule per Kelvin per gram. So the correct answer will be option number D. Next question is assertion reasoning based. So as the level of water in a tall measuring cylinder kept under the running pipe rises, the pitch of the sound gradually increases. Frequency of sound is inversely proportional to the length of the water column. Okay, we know one thing, that the frequency of sound is directly proportional to the length of the water column. More the water column, more will be the frequency. So the reason is false, because they have said that it is inversely proportional. Next, as the level of water in the tall measuring cylinder kept under the running pipe increases, the level of water is increasing, so the pitch of the sound will gradually increase. Yes, it's correct. That is what we have just discussed. The frequency is directly proportional to the length of the water column. So if the length of the water column is increasing, the pitch should increase because the frequency is increasing, and as we know, pitch and frequency are related to one another. So imagine this is the column of a cylinder. Let's consider this is a cylinder. So as the level of water is increasing, what is happening? The length of the air column is decreasing. We know one thing, the frequency is inversely proportional to the length of the air column. If you remember, it has been given in the book. The frequency is inversely proportional to the length of the air column. That means it is directly proportional to the length of the water column, right? So since the frequency will increase when the water column is increasing, if the frequency increases, the pitch also should increase. That means the assertion and the reasoning are basically contradicting each other. Thus, the assertion is correct, but the reason is not. The answer will be option number C. Hopefully it is understandable. Next question, in the given circuits Y and Z, as you can see, resistors R1 and R2 are connected in. So let's see if they are connected in parallel or in series. You can see that both R1 and R2 are almost along the same straight line, but there is a battery in between both of them. Instead of making R1 here, I can also redraw R1 here. So it will just make the same diagram in a different orientation. But in both the cases, between R1 and R2, there is a wire which is connecting a battery. That means both R1 and R2 are parallel in both of the circuits. Okay, so in such questions, you don't have to think much. If you see that two resistors are connected in series, it appears to you, but there is a wire which is running through the middle of them. That means it is parallel because there is a break-in connection. So it is a parallel combination. So the next question, question number 13. A radioactive element P emits one alpha particle and transforms into a new element Q. What will be the position of the element in the periodic table? So since you can see the term groups here, that means a bit of chemistry is also involved in this question. So we know what happens when an alpha particle is released. The mass number will decrease by 4 and the atomic number will be decreasing by 2. That means if P is the radioactive element with mass number A and atomic number Z, on emission of an alpha particle, it will convert into Q. The mass number will decrease by 4. It doesn't matter because we have been talking about the periodic table. So the atomic mass does not matter. The atomic number will matter. the atomic number will decrease by 2. That means it is moving to the left hand side, right? So it will move 2 groups to the left of P. Yeah, option number D. Next question. Each of the substances given below is supplied with the same amount of heat. Which one will attain the highest temperature? So you have been given the specific heat capacities of various substances, and your question is which one will attain the highest temperature. This is also from the chapter calorimetry. If you remember, lower the specific heat capacity, higher will be the absorption ability of the material, right? Like you know that water has a very high specific heat capacity, that means it absorbs the heat very slowly. On the other hand, copper has quite a low value of specific heat capacity. As a result, it will attain the heat very easily. This is the reason it is used in calorimeter. So let's see which one of them has the smallest specific heat capacity. You can see in the table, lead has the smallest specific heat capacity, that is 0.031. Hence lead will attain the temperature easily and quickly. So the correct answer is lead. The next question is from the chapter electromagnetism. This is a very good question, so listen to it carefully. The following figure shows a small bar magnet falling freely through a copper ring, like you can see. For the observer at A, the direction of induced current will be. So we are using Lenz's law in this case, according to which the direction of induced EMF will be such that it will oppose the very cause which produces it. That means if the magnet is moving towards the coil, the current will move in the opposite direction. If the magnet is moving away from the coil, the current will move in the opposite direction. That means in whichever direction the magnet is moving, in the opposite direction the current will be flowing. Okay, this is the basic concept. Now let's see. In the first case, when the observer is observing the magnet is falling from the top, the magnet is moving towards the coil. So instead of moving along with the coil, along with the direction of the coil, the induced current will move in the opposite direction. I hope you are understanding. The magnet is moving towards the coil, the current is moving in the opposite direction. Now when the magnet is moving away from the coil, so the current is trying to move towards the coil. This manner, imagine this was my coil, the magnet is moving towards the coil in this case. So the current in the coil will try to oppose the movement of the magnet, so it will move in the opposite direction. And as the magnet is moving away from the coil now, the current will try to follow the coil. So it is like a contradictory motion. Okay, so in this case, if I consider when the magnet is above the coil, the current is in the anti-clockwise direction because it is moving in this direction. When the magnet is falling below the coil, the current is now moving in the clockwise direction. So the answer will be option number C. Hopefully you have understood the MCQs that we discussed in this session. In the next session we are going to do the long answer type questions. If you have any doubt regarding any question that we discussed today, please feel free to comment it down in the comment section below. Hopefully you are enjoying the lectures. We'll meet next week with more questions to solve, and I will try to bring a series not just for physics but also for chemistry and biology, covering the past year questions. I guess it will help you a lot in the upcoming exams. Bye everybody, keep studying well.